Hello everyone, welcome to Republic IAS. I am Tejaswini. Today I am here to discuss the topic of merchandise exports. As you all have seen that the latest merchandise exports have surpassed our target, that is $400 billion, and these exports have risen up by almost 41% when compared to the previous financial year. So what do you think are the key sectors that have reflected this exponential growth in our exports? One being the engineering goods. Engineering goods are those goods, for example, the metal products, the iron and steel, or the capital and the capital equipment that we need for industries. Such things are considered under engineering products, and these engineering goods have given a substantial push to our exports this time. Now, along with that, we have apparels and garments, this sector, and then the petroleum products. As you all know that the crude oil prices in the world have increased. So as a result, the petroleum products that India exports, we import the crude oil, we do the refining part, and then we export certain petroleum products. So these petroleum products, the value of these products have also increased because of the rising crude oil prices. So these are the main sectors that have led to the exponential push for our Indian exports. And there are so many challenges that India and the world has been facing. Despite all these, we have recorded this growth. Some of the challenges being the pandemic affected economy. As you all know, the COVID-19 pandemic has impacted the world a lot. It resulted in the disruption of the supply chains, and the trade got impacted. So ultimately the exports and the imports of the countries have been impacted. The capital flow, the people to people contacts have been limited. The tourism sector has limited. Despite all these challenges, we have witnessed exponential growth in our exports. That apart, we've been facing so many logistical bottlenecks. These problems have been discussed at length even in our economic survey this year. For example, the container charges, the container shortages, or even the congestion in the ports, or the higher freight rates, and all such logistical bottlenecks have also been the challenges. Yet we have recorded this growth. So why do you think that we could achieve these? What are the reasons for this achievement? One is the concerted efforts by both our Commerce Ministry as well as the External Affairs Ministry. Uh, the diplomatic missions as well as the embassies have their own role in giving a boost to our exports this time. This is set by our own Commerce Ministry. So there has been a lot of diplomatic role this time in giving a thrust to our exports. That apart, the COVID-19 has led to the disruption of value chains, right? So because of the disruption of value chains, what happened was that trade got impacted, and as a result, the input costs of the products have increased. So this rising input costs of any product or a commodity got reflected in the price of the commodity. So the commodity price has also increased, and because of the rising commodity prices, the inflation increased. So it is said that inflation is now at a 40-year high. So this increased inflation is reflected everywhere. So the value of goods has increased, right, because of the inflation, and because of that, the exports value has also increased. As the goods value has increased, ultimately that got reflected in our exports value as well. Okay, so this is one of the reasons for our achievement, increase in inflation. That apart, crude oil prices. You know that the crude oil prices currently are at $110 per barrel. So this increased crude oil prices have resulted in increased value of petroleum products that we export. So ultimately the exports were given a push. I hope you got this point. The crude oil price has increased, and because of the increased crude oil prices, the we import crude oil, then refine it and send it in the form of some certain petroleum products, and the value of these products has also increased. And this has led to the export value, the value of exports being increased. And this apart, COVID-19 pandemic has led to the diversification of away from China. For example, the West and the many of the European countries or in many developed countries have become wary of China after the impact of COVID, and they started to diversify their companies and their industries away from China, and they started to relocate them to different countries, and one country being India. So, because of such diversification done by various countries and companies, India has benefited in a way. So, this has also given a thrust to our exports. These are the reasons for its achievement. Now, let us discuss what are the challenges that we still have. So, we have various headwinds now that are yet to be addressed by us. I request you all to pay attention here because there are finer nuances, and so please be attentive. And as this topic is not a standalone topic all by itself, there are so many interlinkages here, so kindly be attentive. So let us discuss the headwinds now. Imports. Yeah, so despite the exports being high, we still have the imports at a very high on a higher side. So because of the higher imports, we still have the issue of trade deficit and current account deficit. So this has always been a problem. India is always facing this current account deficit issue. So we still face this issue. However, one good thing here is that our forex reserves this time are at a very good amount. For example, it's currently at around dollars 630 billions. So $630 billion is a good sufficient amount, and we have good cushion over our import cover. So this will help in preventing something like 2013 taper tantrums. What are these 2013 taper tantrums? After 2008 global financial crisis, US Fed started opting for quantitative easing. Because of the financial crisis, US Federal Reserve has gone for quantitative easing. That is, the money is pumped into the economy to give a thrust to the economy. So after a few years, in 2000, around 2013, Fed has decided that it will try to taper the quantitative easing. That is, it will try to increase the interest rate and take out the excess liquidity from the market. This announcement by US Federal Reserve has led to the flight of capital from emerging economies to advanced economies, be it from countries like India or other Asian economies to US or other developed countries. So because of this, the currency of these countries of the emerging market economies have depreciated. These are called the taper tantrums. But this time, because we have good forex reserves, we can prevent such taper tantrums. This is a silver lining here. And trade deficit is also very high right now at around $190 billion. And yeah, capital goods import is very less. What does this signify? Once the capital goods are once the capital good imports are less, it results in lower capital expenditure or lower investment by various companies. When the companies invest very less, this means that the job creation is less. If the job creation is less, then the demand or the consumption will also be less. This will ultimately negatively impact our economic growth, leading to the vicious cycle, not the virtuous cycle. So the import of capital goods should be usually be high, and this leads to virtuous cycle of our economy. This apart, you know that there is this Ukraine crisis. When Russia invaded Ukraine, what happened is that there is this crude oil prices uh, have risen, and that apart, we import sunflower oil from Ukraine and Russia. So the commodity prices, the prices of these oil, both crude oil and sunflower oil, will also increase because of this issue. This apart, India is facing a severe competition from Vietnam, Bangladesh, because the countries, as we have discussed, there's diversification away from China. The India is still facing competition from countries like Vietnam and Bangladesh. So we need to attract the businesses, the companies uh, towards India. That apart, we have this issue of fed tapering. I have just discussed this. I'll just repeat. Fed tapering is done right now. The US is planning, after the global financial crisis of 2008, US has gone for quantitative easing. Later it has announced for fed tapering. Fed tapering is now nothing but increasing the policy rates, and because of the increased policy rates, now it will result in flight of capital from where? From emerging economies to developed economies. This will result in rupee depreciation, or the depreciation of the value of the currency of emerging economy, say India. Here rupee will depreciate, and once rupee depreciates, what will happen is that the imports become expensive. Once the imports become costlier, we face the issue of current account deficit. So I hope you have understood these headwinds as well. Now as we have understood the challenges, let us discuss what can be done now. Yeah. What can be the way forward? One issue is that expediting our free trade agreements. India is trying to negotiate so many free trade agreements, be it with UK or Australia. So we need to expedite this process and go in for more and more integration, and this will give thrust to our trade, export, and even the economic growth as well. This apart, we need to address the terms of trade shock. What is this terms of trade? What is this terms of trade? Terms of trade are those conditions or opportunities that we have with a country which we are trading with. For example, I'll give you this Ukraine example itself. Say we are importing sunflower seeds, oil seeds from Ukraine. So what happens is that we will have an agreement with Ukraine that we get the sunflower oil seeds at a particular rate. There may be other countries as well which sell these sunflower seeds, but they may be at a more costlier. They may be more costlier. So here what we say is the terms of trade with Ukraine is better, or it is in favor of India. So once there is this crisis in Ukraine, the terms of trade may not be in favor of India. So this terms of trade shock caused by Ukraine crisis need to be addressed. So that is the point here. New foreign trade policy. Yeah, after because of this COVID pandemic, our foreign trade policy has remained pending, and there is a need to go in for new foreign trade policy, which has been pending. That apart, there is a demand from various industries, where to include different kinds of metal products or other engineering products under this RODTEP scheme. What is this RODTEP scheme? That is remission of duties and taxes on exported products, wherein they are given exemption, or the remission, not the exemption totally, but the remission on the taxes that are to be paid on the products that are exported. So this facilitates more and more exports, and this helps our Indian exporters. So they are asking for more and more products to be included under this scheme. And I think now you remember that, you may recall that the scheme is even challenged under WTO. So we'll have to wait and see what will happen there. And finally, we need to avoid protectionism. With the COVID-19 pandemic, the world has witnessed that more and more countries are turning inward. That is, they are opting for self-reliant policies. For example, India itself has opted for a policy like Atmanirbhar Bharat, or going vocal for local. Such campaigns have become more prominent, more visible after the COVID-19 pandemic. So, one thing should be remembered here is that to make better use of our resources, to have the comparative advantage, we need to integrate world more and more, but not try to separate or have a separate or isolated tendencies that are not good for any economy. Even if you remember, there were trade wars initially between India and China, and even US and China. So if historically any trade war would usually historically a trade war resulted into world wars. So even such conditions should be avoided. So to prevent such conditions in future, we need to integrate world economies more and more by following multilateral world order, by respecting the multilateralism and integrating our world economy more. And also this vaccine nationalism issue. For example, the richer countries which had more resources and access to vaccines tried to safeguard and protect their population first, leaving behind the poorer countries, especially those in Africa. So such protectionist policies have been witnessed, especially after COVID-19 pandemic. So to give more and more trust to our trade and to boost our economic growth and to achieve our target, something like a $5 trillion economy, India should follow such measures and uh, be more economically a superpower too. For that to happen, I think these are some of the steps to that need to be taken place. I hope I have made these points clear. If as these are there are so many interlinkages, if there are any other issues, you may feel free to contact us. Our contact number is given in the description box below. You can call on that number, or you can even messages on our private telegram platform as well. Thank you for your attention. I'll see you in the next class. Thank you.